Hey everyone, Warwick's here. Apologies for not being as consistent with these uploads for you guys that are here for the reaction videos as much as lately. Just had a little bit of burnout on the videos. I've been kind of doing them every week, plus some, for what, 7 or 8 months now, and just needed a little bit of time to recharge on them, not have to think about them. And outside of Nothing Else Matters, I haven't been as happy with the last couple of ones personally, for myself. So, today I'm back at it though. I'm going to be doing a couple of these as I record this. I'm about 4 hours or so shy of Arwen's latest solo cover from the Bass Gang, so I'll be covering that. And then we also have things like the Wellerman that are out there. They have a new album out, so I might be doing a little bit of that. And the Bass Gang has been hinting that they're releasing something new sometime this month, so keeping an eye out for that as well. But today, we're going to be covering VoicePlay. They did a latest one with Deejay Young, who we remember from the Christmas cover that they did of the Chipmunks Christmas song. He is back this time. They're doing the Beach Boys In My Room. Been a long time since I've heard the Beach Boys in general. In My Room, it's not one that I remember off the top of my head, so I'm curious to see if it triggers once I hear some of the song. But Deejay Young was excellent in the Chipmunk Christmas song, Christmas Don't Be Late. And I'm really excited to have him back. I know he's collaborated with these guys a few times. And obviously it's Deejay Young, also part of the Hamilton cast as well. So just very cool to have him back, so soon, so to speak. And just really looking forward to seeing what this does. So before we get into it, for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. Appreciate you very much for joining me. For those of you that are veterans of the channel, welcome back. It's good to see you again. Just quick overview on myself. My name is Corey. I am not a professional musician. I'm just a guy who really loves acapella music. I've really fallen in love with it over the last probably 18 months or so. I started doing these types of reaction videos in June of 2022. Undergone some format changes, some visual changes, and kind of settled on all of this as being the way that I prefer to do these videos. If you've never seen one of these videos before, when it's the case of a first-time reaction like this is, what I do is I watch the entire video all the way through. You just get my completely unfiltered, unfettered reaction to things. And then afterwards, I like to go back and do an analysis side of things where I talk about things that I think are really cool and interesting about the piece. I was inspired to do these videos by the Bass Gang's Peter Barber to do the analysis side. He brings a very much a professional, in-depth study technique. I'm more of like a dude that loves it and likes to point out just things that I find interesting. I was in high school band, so there is some musical background there for me, even though I was a percussionist, so it was very limited. But I also, as a video creator, like to look at the sort of visual details that go on in these videos. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at for the analysis side. So if you enjoy what I'm doing here, or if you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. It does help me out quite a bit. I really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving me and the patience that you've shown me as I've been dealing with, some rough things in my life. I'm currently unemployed, have been for a while, and a bit on the job hunt. It's taken its toll on me mentally. I've recently gone through a divorce, so dealing with that, and I've been trying to just kind of rebuild my life a little bit. This has kind of been an escape for me, and your support has really meant a lot. So thank you very much for that. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this video In My Room from originally by the Beach Boys, this time covered in acapella by VoicePlay featuring Deejay Young. So let's get into this. Let me turn this up just a little bit, make sure it's loud enough. And here we go.
There's a world where I can go to tell my secrets to. In my room, in my room, in my room, in my room, in my room. In this world I locked out all my won't be afraid. In my room, 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 I do my dreaming and my scheming, lie awake and pray. Do my crying and my sighing, laugh at yesterday. Now it's dark and I'm alone, but I won't be afraid. In my room, 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 in my room.
All right. That's very cool. I don't remember that song. I'm not a Beach Boys aficionado, but I don't remember ever hearing that. So that might have been the first time I've ever heard any form of that song. That was very cool. I really enjoyed that. Very, obviously very different from Nothing Else Matters, which had this really sort of like interesting build throughout the entire process. Like VoicePlay is really, really good about this. They'll put out something like freaking Nothing Else Matters, which has been living rent free in my head ever since I heard it. And, you know, they do something that just has this build, and then these really epic kind of moments. And a lot of people think that Nothing Else Matters is probably the best one that they've ever done. I would, of everything I've heard, it's definitely number one on my list. You know, with Dragon Boy Comes and Halo, very close second, or like, I won't say close, they're second and third for me. But, and then they kind of like just are really good about switching it up and doing something that seems like a lot more just chill, laid back, and is less about like trying to create something epic and magical, but still try to create something that is just fun. Like, you could tell that it's not that they didn't have fun with Nothing Else Matters. They absolutely did. It was written all over their faces as they got further and further into the song. But like, I really appreciate that they do like these really kind of heavy, epic pieces, and then they just pull back with something super chill and laid back. Like, they really do a good job of like just altering the moods, and some of it is probably needed for themselves, just because I'm sure Nothing Else Matters was probably a fairly intense shoot, especially on a time crunch, because I know J Nunn was only on leave from his duties with the Navy. Whereas this, obviously, you know, probably still on a time crunch because DJ is a busy man, but, you know, you get this really cool kind of like just really nice contrast, and VoicePlay does that very, very well. Before we get into the video itself, let's go down and do what we always do in these, the credits themselves. And let's go right here. So Lane and Rob Dietz did the arrangement on this. Lane did the video editing. Lane and Ellie did the creative direction and lighting design. Ellie, I know, has done lighting for this group for a while. He's going to get a lot of praise from me on this. Ed Boyer, as always, did the audio mix. Kathy Castellucci, as always, was their PM. Andrew Cox, their production manager. And Ellie did the costuming on this. And it was filmed in Range Room. So this was not necessarily done at Patty Cake Productions, which is where they normally do things. I don't know anything about Range Room, so if there's someone that's on the Patreon list that knows, feel free to comment below about what's the importance of this. Or is this like one of their kids or something? If so, that's a really interesting kids room. And then VoicePlay, of course, for those of you that are not aware of who VoicePlay is, Ellie Jacobson, which is this guy right here with the fantastic beard, is their tenor. Cesar De La Rosa right here in the very loud fruit, Mexican, it's not fruit. Looks like watermelon from at first glance, but it's not. But this is Cesar De La Rosa. He does tenor and can also drop into baritone as needed for pieces. We get Jeff Castellucci here on the right, who is the bass, of course. And then Lane Stein over here on the left is a tenor supporting vocals and does their vocal percussion. And then featuring DJ Young, which they listed as impossible. They do this on all their featured artists, as they say, featuring so-and-so, blank, adjective or descriptor. Like J Nunn, it was just like, whoa. You know, even though J Nunn by trade is a baritone, DJ by trade, tenor. So very cool stuff. Again, everyone behind the scenes, not just the group, but those of you that also worked on it, thank you very much for your work on this piece. It really does help make, I think, everything feel a lot more complete. So that's the end of the reaction, guys. About 11 and a half, 12-minute video. If you're here to nerd out with me, we're going to go ahead and dive into that right now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about this setup, Rain's Room. Really enjoy the lighting on the back. I don't know if these are Christmas lights or if these are just kind of string lights that happen to be a lot of red and green. But I had noticed that they had these sort of trail lights up here at the top, which definitely does a lot for the coloring. Really enjoyed the fact that there's a piano over here. We get somewhat of a shot of the actual music. If anyone, again, I'll point it out when I see it again. Notice the sheet music that was there. Cool stuff. And then, of course, it looks like they have, I don't know what this wall decor is. You didn't really get a good look at it. But really interesting little setup. Kind of the traditional chairs that they use. So just very cool setup overall. So Rain's Room, whatever it is. I like it. I like the room.
There's a world where I can go to tell my secrets to. In my room, in my room, in my room, in my.
Okay, so just let the first 30 seconds go there because I was trying to figure out time signature and then also what the sort of, not the actual like beats per minute tempo, but like the, is this song in like traditional quarter notes? But this song is actually, I think, is in what I call triplets. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Instead of the traditional 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So songs that are in triplet always give off this feel of very laid back, very chill because of the way that triplets work. So you're talking versus you can kind of tell just from the difference in those two, where I was doing eighth notes, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 versus 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. You can really hear just the fact that it feels a lot more chill, a lot more like vibing versus this level of drive and push. Now, I'm not to say that this song doesn't have drive, because it does. It's just not as intense. And so songs that are in triplets really can feel like that. Now, there are some songs that are in triplets rather, that do have a level of intensity to them, but that's because they're usually very fast-paced songs as it is anyway. So triplets just make everything a little bit easier to play. But this song does the triplets, if I did the counting correctly, it's triplets in terms of its meter, and then 4/4 as the time signature, which means there are four beats to every bar, and then tempo is pretty slow. It's da 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 da. So I would say probably down to 100 beats a minute, if not less. So just wanted to kind of nerd out about the time signature thing. Like, in terms of music, that's like the one thing that I'm actually really good at, because I was a drummer. So time signature and rhythm are definitely things that are very much in my wheelhouse, because in marching band, drumline is usually the heart of everything, to the point that my old band director used to tell us when when people were like, if you ever get lost, just find the drum line. He told the drum majors the same. If you feel like you're losing, losing the rhythm, losing the count, or you have lost track of what you're doing, just follow the drum line. They will always get you back on beat. So there's a lot of pressure put on me and my fellow drummers in high school to always be on rhythm. So rhythm and time signatures and keeping beat, stuff like that, always things that I can do. So I usually try to figure out what these songs are in. This one, I think it's triplets in 4/4.
In my room, in this world, I locked out all my world.
So one thing I really love about DJ's voice, and it showed in Christmas Don't Be Late as well, is just how clear he is. Like, he just seems very comfortable to a very high range. Like, it doesn't look like he's pushing himself a lot. Like, him and Ellie are a lot alike in that regard. To where, back's tight. Anyways, to where him and Ellie are both a lot alike in that regard, and that they just feel like they can get, like, they have really comfortable high chest ranges. And the clarity in his sound is really, really good. There's one more thing I want to go back. Yeah, listen to Jeff and the bass in the background here. We're going to go back 5 seconds. So around the 42-second mark, so in about 3 seconds, 4 seconds, you're going to listen. Really pay attention to Jeff because he does a really, really fun slide in the background. This world I locked out. Oh. Did a very similar sound, that type sound. He did that in Hall of the Mountain King, which is like the very first note of the song. He goes, bow. He did a very similar slide there in this piece. So really, really cool stuff. I really like that there's kind of like I know there's like probably a vocal reason why that type of slide really works. But for me, as someone that doesn't understand the vocal technique side of things, it's just a really nice touch and adds a little bit of like texture to the underlying backgrounds while DJ is killing this lead line. Really like the staccato just over there. The in my room. Really enjoyed that. Of course, we get Jeff going into his sort of pseudo baritone and then dropping back down into the bass. One thing I will point out as you're hearing, and you probably saw it at the beginning where Lane did this little thing where he was like, he's actually not just smacking his face because it gets picked up by the microphone. What he's probably doing is that was probably just for visual purposes to show that he was doing something there. When he was recording, he probably just something like that, except he can do things a lot clearer and with a little bit more variation than I can. Yeah, he's probably clicking his tongue against the back of his mouth, the roof of his mouth, kind of back there. I don't know why I did that and act like you could see, but yeah, he's kind of putting it to the back so that he kind of makes the, like, if you click towards the front of your teeth, it's very like crisp in that regard and flat almost. Whereas if you go click to the back of your throat, it has a very rounded sound. And that's what he's doing with that. And he's just doing that to show visually that he was doing something. Really like the transition. They do this quite a bit, the transition of lighting. So Ellie did a great job setting all of this up and making sure that it worked. I don't know if it was on a timer or if he basically worked with someone to adjust it, but I really like the fact that they changed the lighting for different verses. Gives a really nice visual feel to this song, gives it a very nice change of mood in a way, depending on what they're doing. And each lighting effect does have a specific impact on kind of like the mood of the song. Like the whole song, generally speaking, the Beach Boys were always kind of like just have fun, hanging out. Of course, more beach style music. Their music was, for the most part, their most famous stuff was always kind of like just chilling out, hanging out, having fun, and just good vibes type of situation. And the lighting that Ellie does really matches that sort of goal. I guess aesthetic would be the way to put it. Again, Jeff with a nice little slide when he does a background lie away. Yeah, so he hit a low note. I'm not sure which low note it was. So lie, and then away, things like that. Really, really nice is, you know, kind of adding that, again, that bottom foundation to really flesh out the background vocals and make them sound very, very full, which I always love. And so I think that was the section that I was thinking about, is all three of these dudes hit the roof and it looked effortless. So yeah, if you guys know high notes, I'm not, you know, high note, obviously I'm not a note aficionado at all. I need to know what it is that Caesar and DJ hit there, because they went really high. I'm guessing something in the 5 range, possibly even a 6 for DJ, because I know he's very, very capable of just, you know, hitting the ceiling. We talk about Jeff dropping into the basement. You know, DJ and Caesar and Ellie all have the ability to go into the stratosphere, as I like to call it. So, if you know those notes, please let me know. Very, very cool section. Really shows off the high range. And one other small thing, I talked about Nothing Else Matters. For the most part, Caesar is like very still, which is very weird for Caesar, because his natural personality, I've seen him in different interviews and some different behind the scenes type stuff. He's just a very bubbly, happy, go lucky type dude. And then in Nothing Else Matters, he was very still, very calm, until he really started getting himself in, you know, like, into the song. Like, he was really playing into the emotions of the song and stuff like that. And here it's kind of good to see him back to being more in his, like, he's not like the spark of energy in this song, you know, whereas, like, you know, we talked about, like, in Running Up That Hill, where he's just sassy. He's just Caesar sassy. It's like very much him until, you know, we get to the Stranger Things references. You know, here he's kind of like in between what I think he was in Running Up That Hill, where he was like his very sort of almost like he was just playing himself and singing while he was doing it, versus Nothing Else Matters, where he was very stoic throughout the whole most of the song. Here he's kind of back in that middle, which is good to see. I like that variation. Caesar, obviously someone that really thinks about what type of emotion does the song require and how can he translate that to camera. So just really, really appreciate that about him, and good to see him back into more of his traditional, energetic, sassy self that we all love and enjoy about him. My crying and my sighing, laughing yesterday. Really nice belt, and then this low note from Jeff. It's dark and I'm alone, but so one thing about this little section, we get this really incredible belt from DJ, and then it just drops immediately into a Jeff pretty low note. And then it builds, and it doesn't build with the guy that's listed as the baritone, Caesar, being the next. It's Ellie coming in and dropping into a lower range for him. And this is something that I think is really cool and interesting about what they're doing with Ellie lately, is that they've been showing off his lower ranges. Now, I know Ellie can go down into bass tones. Like, I know that in some songs he's covered Jeff, the bass line, while Jeff has been doing lead lines. I think in the Moana medley, he's actually covering a bass line while Jeff is doing the lead line. I don't know if it's in Shiny or if it's in another one of the songs that are in that medley, but I really love the fact that they're showing off. Like, obviously we know Jeff has got an insane low range, and Jeff has shown up, and like we all get in his solo covers love his high range. You know, we know that Caesar can get into, has baritone capabilities, and we've seen some of that show off. But I really just appreciate that they're showing off more of Ellie's low range, because he actually does have a pretty decent low range. And so the fact that we're starting to see more of it in these last 2 covers that they've done, I really just appreciate that. And I hope that we get to see more and more. And I'd love to see something where Ellie very clearly covers a bass line while Jeff is singing. Like, very clearly on video covering it, because I think that would be really cool. Probably blow a lot of people's minds.
I won't be afraid. In my room.
Love that transition fill. Really, really nice. And again, we get a lighting change. It's just really, really cool stuff. Wait a second. Okay, so they double tracked Jeff there because he did the in my room, the high part, but the bass sounding very much was his voice. It's very distinct in that regard.
In my room, in my room,
Another lighting change. Oof. That's a beautiful run. Very soulful. Really appreciate that. And another lighting change. Dark. Room goes dark.
but I won't be afraid. In my room, 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 in my room.
Yeah, so the ending there, very cool. I just wanted to let it play out because I'm running up against my 30-minute time limit I try to set on these. So some cool stuff. Of course, I love the lighting changes. You heard me talk about them as they were happening. Very soulful little riffs and runs by DJ there at the end, which were really nice. And then, of course, the ending note, very beautiful chord with Jeff hitting a pretty decent low note. One that's probably attainable by most people that have bass capabilities in their voice, but so nothing that's like ungodly, but overall just a really cool, really fun video. I really like this a lot. It's quite enjoyable. Like I said, a very nice contrast from Nothing Else Matters. So just very, very cool stuff. I'm always excited when a VoicePlay drops a new cover. This one's no different. This one definitely enjoyable for its own right. So yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, like, share, subscribe. Until the next video, I hope you all stay safe. I hope you're enjoying yourself, you're having fun, you listen to great music, and I will see you all in the next video.